Our president is interested in peace. So we will get characterized one way or another. Oh, your stance is pro-Russia or it's all garbage. The president got elected to bring peace in this conflict, and he is working with both sides in a way that only President Trump can. Let's be clear. Only President Trump can, to bring them to the table to end the killing. And I can tell you from being behind the scenes, he is laser focused on making that happen, and we're closer today than we've ever been because of his leadership.
Thank you very much, President.
Yeah, but the Democrats are trying to say, well, Trump he's in bed with the Russians. I don't think that's true. He's thinking about tariffs or sanctions against the Russians today, according to the reporting. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, I think one of the smartest people in all of Washington. This man gets it. He understands. Now Secretary of State, he said people should be pleased with what's going on from a national security standpoint.
This should be a mystery to no one. The president, when he was a candidate and he was running, he said very clearly this is a war that never would have happened, and I believe that to be true had he been president, and we need to bring it to an end. He's working to he wants to be a peacemaker. Usually, and I made this point in multiple interviews, usually people are happy when our president, the president of the most powerful country in the world, is looking to prevent wars and to end wars. Somehow, when it's Donald Trump that's doing it, it's somehow a horrible thing. So, as I've said, it's important for us to understand we are blessed and fortunate to have a president that is looking to bring an end, if possible, to a conflict that's cost billions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives and destruction that'll take a generation for Ukrainians and others to be able to recover from.
Yeah, I mean, why aren't more people? I mean, with the press corps, they just are in the tank with the left, and they can't even begin to look in a fair and balanced way at what's going on in the world. And Rubio's right to point this out. Most people would be pleased that we got a president who's out there trying to end the war, where hundreds of thousands of people have died. But no, Democrats, because it's something Trump is doing, they have to be against it. That's just not going to that's not going to work with the American people. It's not working with the American people, as we said just a moment ago. One of the things that I'm very pleased about is how effective I think Trump and Elon Musk and his cabinet are being in trying to depoliticize and de-weaponize the various arms of government. I mean, everything got politicized and weaponized. The Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, no doubt about it, the FBI. He's working very hard to make sure that we have people in these positions that are going to try to do away with that kind of stuff. And one you might not think about where, the left was having an impact was the weaponization and the politicization of the intelligence that we gather for our president. And you got now Tulsi Gabbard, who is there just a few days into the job, and she's trying to get her feet on the ground. She has an interview last night with Laura Ingraham, in which she was asked, well, just how bad is all of the wokeism and all of the politicization of the intelligence community? Because as DNI, Tulsi Gabbard sits at the very, very top of the intelligence operations in our government. She oversees the CIA. She oversees the NSA. She oversees the people who take satellite pictures from around the. She's got all of the Defense Intelligence Agency. She oversees it all. All of it comes to her as the director of national intelligence. And she was asked, just how bad is the politicization of our intelligence gathering process?
From a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being worse than you thought, how swampy is the intel community? 1 to 10.
I knew it was bad coming in. It's worse than I thought in a lot of different ways. I'd love to come back and talk to you as we pull back the layers, really, of getting rid of the weaponization within the intelligence community, the politicization, and those who are, frankly, trying to shape intelligence according to their own view or their own agenda, rather than just providing our policymakers and the president with that unbiased, accurate, timely intelligence that they need to make their decisions. This example that we just talked about, where the Biden administration released these known or suspected terrorists or those with links to ISIS terrorists back into our country, you look at the dereliction of duty of that, but you also recognize this is one form of that politicization, where the Biden administration was so afraid of being labeled Islamophobes. They took this pro-Islamist bent in endangering our own national security that we see in that example, but we've also seen with the pro-Hamas, rallies on streets across the country and the riots, and so we see now with President Trump, he and I and others on the national security team are focusing our resources back where they belong, on keeping the American people safe and getting rid of those who seek to do us harm.
Tulsi Gabbard, and boy, am I impressed with her. I mean, she seems to really have, gotten a good read on what's going on, in a very difficult place to get a read on what's going on. You may be at the top, but you oversee thousands and thousands of people. And she's out there trying to figure out, is she getting the straight stuff, or is the intelligence being cooked by people below her? I mean, he's trying to get government back into doing what it should do, which is be unbiased and non-political. I mean, we're not supposed to use the government as a political weapon, and yet the Democrats did that. And going after Trump, and what is really remarkable is, people talk about, well, how bad that was, and it was bad, and Donald Trump is one of the only guys who could have stood up to it and survived and then succeeded in running for president again. But I mean, it was bad. It was so bad. And you know what? The American people have seen through what the Democrats were doing. They see through the games that were being played. They're not going to be, fooled again. We won't be fooled again. The new boss is not the same as the old boss. This is fun to watch. I mean, everything that we hoped would happen with a Trump second presidency is happening. He is doing everything he can to make government responsive to who? The boss. Who's the boss? You are. We're the boss. Government seems to have lost track of all that. The government is in place to serve our best interests, and sometimes they don't. And when Democrats were in charge, it got so far out of shape, so far in the wrong direction, that Americans said, we're had enough. I mean, there were a lot of people who weren't crazy about Donald Trump, who held their nose and voted for Donald Trump because they were so disgusted with what the Democrats were doing. And again, remember, just a few moments ago, I told you 75%, 76% is the actual number, of those who heard Donald Trump speak on the floor of the House the other day, despite all the interruptions and all of the theatrics that were going on by those on the left side of the auditorium there in the House chambers, he succeeded. 76% said they agree with what he had to say and thought that this speech was positive. I guess the thing that I'm struck by as we go down this process is just how quickly this thing has turned on Democrats in such a horrible way, and how remarkable it is that the Republicans, who are now in charge of the House, the Senate, the White House, we got conservative control, although we're a little worried about Amy Coney Barrett right now, but we have political control, conservative control of the Supreme Court. It is now allegedly, 6-3 conservative majority. Although with Coney Barrett, it might be a 5-4 again. It would be interesting to see how that works out. But I think it's remarkable, big picture, at how far they have come in such a short time, and how quickly they were able to turn this thing around. It's still going to be a battle. There are forces within this government. There is a deep state at play in our intelligence community, and our Department of Justice, and virtually every agency of the government. And they are doing everything they can brilliantly to get those people to retire and go on and do something else, so that we can bring back to government what government is supposed to be: responsive to the will of the people, responsive to what we want. And remember, again, we are in charge here. And the politicians have lost sight of that fact. Donald Trump realizes that fact. You know, he is absolutely, I think, acting in a remarkably positive and good way to set this country right again after being led down the primrose path for such failures of the Biden administration. Man, it went bad quickly in 4 years, didn't it? I guess perhaps I'm most pleased about is how the whole situation is being revealed to the American people. We're getting the opportunity to look at what Biden had done. I mean, we knew he'd messed up in Afghanistan. We have a war in Ukraine, largely because of him, because he was so weak in Afghanistan. We have a war that took place in the Mideast. None of these things are happening. And so, you know, he is the president of wars. Wars occurred around the world, and instability around the world has occurred. And Donald Trump is trying to return that stability. And yet all the Democrats do is throw rocks at a guy who's trying to end war. Man, I'm for it. I'm absolutely for it. This whole situation, big picture, as I stand back and try to get the 30,000 foot view of what's going on in America today, or the satellite view of America, is that we have done a tremendous job thus far of trying to turn this battleship around. Takes a long time to turn a battleship around. We're turning the battleship, the aircraft carrier, around and heading in a new direction that is more responsive to the American people. And Democrats, you can throw their rocks. They can criticize Elon Musk. Just knock yourself out all you want. It doesn't matter.